Smart contracts are the new buzzword in the world of blockchain. But what are those? How do they work? What use can we put them to? These and other questions continue to haunt many potential users of freezing. In today's video, we'll answer all your questions and more. You'll learn everything you need to know about smart contracts, including their definition, how they work, and real-world examples of their implementation. Keep watching to find out everything you need to know about these digital contracts. But before you learn about smart contracts, pay attention to the big red subscription button. As soon as you click it, you will be taken to the wealthy side, the life you deserve, where you'll find hundreds of videos. These videos contain the answers to almost any question you may have. There are also daily updates, so if you want to stay tuned, remember to turn on notifications. What is a smart contract? A smart contract is a computer protocol intended to enforce the terms of a contract. It is an agreement that is enforced by blockchain technology. These contracts are a specific type of computer program that runs on a decentralized network. In short, it's a way to programmatically generate legally binding agreements. Moreover, it consists of a set of instructions, which will execute automatically once certain conditions are met. A trusted third party or middleman is not needed to verify the terms of such a contract. A smart contract is designed to have an if-then logic. It will execute if certain conditions are met, or if a certain period is passed since the last execution of the contract. Now that we've answered what a smart contract is, let's take a look at its components. Components of a smart contract. A smart contract is based on three main components: a ledger, the properties, and the logic. A ledger is a component that corresponds to the database, and the logic is the one that represents the code of the contract. The code is the one that is used to build and program the contract. It is written in a high-level programming language. The component properties include variables and the static of the contract. It includes the data, such as currency rates, terms of agreements, and any other relevant information stored in the contract. How do smart contracts work? To understand how smart contracts work, it's important to understand the stages of their development. The formation of such a contract is divided into 4 stages. Here's how each of them works. Create. The first stage is the create stage. In this stage, the parties involved in the contract agree to the terms of the contract. This stage is just like how we negotiate contracts traditionally. The only difference is that, on the blockchain, all participants need a wallet to get involved in the smart contract. After you have agreed on the details of your contract, it's time to convert those details into the programming language. Freeze. As you might have already guessed, the digital assets of both parties are stored and locked on the blockchain at this stage. In the freezing stage, the code is deployed in the network of nodes. After being verified by nodes across the network, your transaction will be recorded onto a blockchain and linked together with other transactions that happened at the same time. You must pay a small fee to the blockchain miners to use their services. This will help to keep the ecosystem flooded with smart contracts so that there is enough work for all participants. Then, the code is executed. This code either completes the terms or terminates the contract. After the execution of the code, the contract is either recorded or executed. When the contract is recorded, the terms of the contract are stored on the blockchain. The contract and all of its participants are open for public viewing as the contract enters into a freeze mode. Execute. Smart contracts automate the execution of a contract. This agreement is coded in such a way that it can be verified automatically and enforced with the use of technology. When you pay with coins, it automatically creates a transaction that meets all the necessary criteria. So, in the third stage, the statement of the contract is automatically triggered. But before that, all the conditions must be evaluated and checked one last time. The transaction data is added to the blockchain again after verification. This ensures that you will get what you paid for according to your contract with the company. The governing nodes of the blockchain then make one final check to see if everything is in order. Finalize. In the last stage, the digital assets obtained from the first party are unfrozen, and the updated states of all parties that have participated are stored. After updating the state and the result of each transaction, it is added to the distributed ledger of a blockchain. After that, the consensus mechanism makes sure that the first party has properly sent over its assets and then releases them to the second party. What are the benefits of using smart contracts? Number 1. Speed. When you use a smart contract, you can program the terms of the contract in a few minutes as opposed to days or weeks. This makes them a perfect choice when you want to cut down on unnecessary delays. Number 2. Accuracy. It's easy to make an error when you're completing a paper contract. On the other hand, when you use smart contracts, your terms and conditions are programmed in a language that the computer understands. As a result, there's less room for error. Number 3. Security. When you execute your contract on the blockchain, you're keeping your contract safe from tampering. This means that no one can edit your contract without your permission. Number 4. Trust and transparency. The need for trust and transparency in a smart contract is essential because it is what makes the contract so valuable. If there is no trust and transparency, then the contract will not be worth anything to any of the parties involved. Because these contracts are computer protocols that enforce the negotiation or performance of a contract without involving a third party, they offer the most transparency and trust to their users. Smart contracts on blockchain provide a trustful way of executing and enforcing the terms of an agreement. As a result, the use cases for such contracts are endless, from digital voting to insurance policies. Number 5. Savings. Smart contracts do away with the need for third-party intermediaries and their time-consuming and costly settlements. You can now own your property rights in an immutable, transparent, secure, and cheap way. Enjoying till now? Please hit the subscribe button now, like, share, and comment. And yes, keep watching. Types of smart contracts. There are 3 types of smart contracts that are being used on the blockchain. Let's discuss them one by one. Number 1. Smart legal contracts. A smart legal contract is somewhat legally bound. These contracts are enforceable, and both parties are obligated to hold up their end of any agreement they establish. Failing to comply with this may result in serious legal consequences. Number 2. Decentralized autonomous organizations. The second type is decentralized autonomous organizations. These are communities that abide by a set of predetermined rules, coded into blockchain contracts and with the help of governance mechanisms. This means that any change made by the community gets replaced by its self-enforcing code. These contracts are also quite secure and safe because you are backed up by every other node's power. However, the process of self-enforcement may be very slow, especially when the system is still new and untested. Moreover, there is a risk of collusion among nodes, which could compromise the trustworthiness of the protocol. Number 3. Application logic contracts. These contracts contain an app-based code that is synced with other contracts working on the blockchain. It provides seamless integration of different devices, for example, the merger of blockchain technology with the Internet of Things. Applications of smart contracts. Making international trade faster and more efficient. The implementation of smart contracts can help to reduce the time it takes to complete an international shipping transaction. This is because, in this type of contract, you can write the terms and conditions. As a result, you can cut down on the time it takes to complete the transaction. Increasing trust in retailer-supplier relationships. If a retailer and a supplier use smart contracts, they can trust each other to hold up their end of the deal. For example, if the retailer orders 100 t-shirts, the supplier could program the smart contract to hold the payment in escrow until the shirts are shipped. Safeguarding the efficacy of medications. Health insurance providers can use smart contracts to oversee the use of medications. The providers can program the contract to release the payment to the patient if they take their prescribed drugs. Decreasing the risk of fraud. If you use smart contracts to facilitate business, you can reduce the risk of fraud. You can, for example, build a contract that specifies the terms of the sale and conditions of payment. Disadvantages of smart contracts. Number 1. Lack of human oversight. Unlike traditional contracts that have a third party overseeing the transaction, smart contracts don't have any human oversight. As a result, there is no one to moderate in case of a dispute. Number 2. Lack of enforceability. Although smart contracts are a great way to reduce risk, they aren't legally enforceable. This means that if a person breaches the terms of the contract, there's nothing you can do to get your money back. Number 3. Somewhat lack of trust. Many people don't trust the blockchain and other forms of cryptocurrency. As a result, they aren't willing to use such contracts. Number 4. Possibility of loopholes. Smart contracts are, in theory, never supposed to be subject to loopholes or bugs. But in the reality of developing software, it's nearly impossible for them not to have any flaws. Such digital contracts themselves can have loopholes, but smart contract-based apps have a higher level of protection from hackers due to the use of cryptography, which is more complex and harder for hackers to break into. So make sure you use these apps when creating a smart contract. Are smart contracts reversible? Well, no. One major concern with smart contracts stems from their inability to be reversed or cancelled once they're initiated. As a result, these contracts can be considered unchangeable and therefore not suitable for certain types of transactions. The agreements or the contract terms are executed automatically as per the codes and rules set. However, it's possible to update these codes without directly controlling the code itself. Some indirect tactics might produce more desirable results, and we're going to share some of those with you. Number 1. Create a new contract to manage the previous one with transaction details such as the address. This means that any transactions you make using the intermediary contract will send you to the active contract. Number 2. Create a new version of your existing contract version and import all of the information from the previous contract into the new version. The information includes all the codes, transaction data, and conditions. This is one of the easiest ways to save time when you want to change something minor, like rates or policies, without losing everything you've done so far. Number 3. Save the code from your document into a library and use it to recollect all of the contractual data from that contract for the current agreement. Did you enjoy the video? Please hit the subscribe button, like, share, and comment.